So I kind of like the aesthetic of the picture here, like the color palette and all that, but I'm wondering, why are they only giving us the silhouette of the horse? I, for one, would like to see his beautiful eyes. Okay, I take that back. This is absolutely horrifying. Hey guys, today we're talking about the art for the most wonderful game of all time, Civilization 3. This is a 20-year-old game where the art has aged quite well. The unit models, resources, and the top-down isometric view have all aged like fine wine. The leader heads, despite being from a really uncanny valley-prone era of 3D art, look better than most of the early entries in the Civ series. And people love whatever the heck this abandoned feature is supposed to be. Yeah. But there's one series of art pieces in this game that are absolutely bizarre, and that's the tech icons. It goes under the radar because all you see is these tiny little thumbnails in the tech tree, but they get pretty weird and occasionally terrifying. Let's have a look. First, to prove I'm onto something, take a look at this toilet. Like, actually take a very close look at this toilet. Ignore the tiling, ignore the flush handle that is very clearly painted on. First of all, what on earth is up with the tank of the toilet? It is completely disconnected from the bowl itself. The tank is just like floating there in midair, or at very best, it's like screwed in against the wall. And the bowl, like the lid of the toilet itself, is also kind of weird. I feel like you could just like pick it up and throw it around like a frisbee. This is a weird damn toilet. So yeah, I'm definitely onto something here, but before we can talk more about what these pieces of art are, let's talk about what they're not, or at least like what kind of limitations they were trying to work around when they were made. Because these are the only three things that resemble like faces that you see at any point in this series of art across the tech tree. So you have the Republic, the Eagle. That's fine, I guess. You have these faceless people for the corporation. Interesting choice. And then you have this really ugly whatever the heck this is for espionage. And in case this did not hammer it home enough, they thought maybe you think this is a fluke. Let's take a look at some pieces of game art from the development of the game. Again, these unit models in the game are absolutely beautiful for like the Shogun and for the Legionnaire, but those faces, it looks like a horrifying no eyes, no nose, no mouth monster here. So this is what they were trying to avoid. So, if you want to talk about the development of human society and technology, but you can't include anyone's faces in this series of pictures, what are you going to do instead? Well, creepy glows. That's number one. You got this yellow thing around the Buddha. This brain is pink. Let's put a pink little glow around it. And I know there's like a lot of understanding around nuclear energy, but these are cooling towers. Steam comes out of the cooling towers. There's no like green radioactive glow that comes out of the cooling towers of a nuclear power plant. You might also try abstraction. Like, what do you do to represent free artistry if you can't draw like a picture of Leonardo da Vinci's face? Well, you could do something like from Civ 4, maybe, with something like that, or something like the music thing over there for free artistry. Or you could do the Civ 3 approach, which would be a floating art palette just suspended in a black void with a weird glow around it. Oh, yeah, and give it wings too. You're going to need that. What the heck? Same thing with Ceremonial Burial. There's absolutely no burying going on here, and man, I don't even know what the heck this thing is. You can tell me. For gunpowder? What? Third trend is weird angles. I get why they used an abacus for mathematics, but why is it tilted away from us like this? And why is this beaker for chemistry? Why does it look like it's asking us for our lunch money? They even fixed it for one of the texts in the expansion pack. I don't get why they couldn't have just done this the first time. And the fourth trend is when things aren't just floating in a void, they exist in these weird sort of liminal spaces that you feel like it would be very strange to walk around in. So yeah, now that we know all about how these thumbnails work, let's see what my top 8 and bottom 8 Civ 3 tech thumbnails are. Let's go. Starting with number 8, we're going to go with communism. So this one falls into all of the trends that I mentioned in the previous section, but I feel it works pretty well here. How on earth would you show communism without a hammer and sickle? The fact that it's glowing is a nice little touch. It feels like Marx himself is like laser beaming him at me with his eyes, and the tilt doesn't really take too much away. So yeah, a solid tech thumbnail right here. Next up is this from Stoneworking from one of the Conquests. This is a bit of a deep cut, but it actually is also a hidden level from Super Monkey Balls. Just don't fall off the edge here. It's gonna be a long way down. Number 6 is robotics, which is actually like skillfully displaying something very detailed that represents the technology itself, which is actually pretty rare for these icons, as you might have noticed. Number 4 and 5, I'm pretty happy that Civ 3 settled once and for all that jet fuel does in fact melt steel beams. Number 3 is the wheel. Go ahead and spread some cream cheese on this bad boy. Number two, I believe, is mass production. I'll admit that the water texture leaves a lot to be desired, but the imposing angle here actually really works for this picture, and the level of detail is nice. And my number one favorite thumbnail, I cannot believe that for banking, they actually loaded up my Sims 1 save file. As a little Easter egg for me, they included a screenshot in Civ 3. This was an absolutely genius, very nice touch by the designers here. Next up is my 8 least favorite tech thumbnails. We're going to start with spaceflight and satellites as number 7 and number 8. For obvious reasons, this is just lazy. Number 6 is this hat. I don't remember why this is here. This is actually a pretty cool hat. But with number 5, this steering wheel, something's up with this picture. Why is the steering wheel not like glowing weird colors and floating in a purple void? Why does there seem to be a background that actually relates to the subject matter at hand? Something went wrong here. This is not correct. Next up is some advice from my domestic advisor. Maybe if you hadn't printed the words top secret in massive letters on top of this manila envelope, this creepy little goblin man would not be trying to nuke us right now. Number 3 on our list is monotheism. This isn't monotheism. This is monotheism. Sincerely, what the fuck? Why would they bend over backwards to like make 3D models of what clearly should be 2D art concepts if they're just gonna paint the eye onto the side of the pyramid like this? Be not afraid, my ass. Anyway, number 2 is this radio that is very clearly made from human flesh. And the number 1 worst piece of art is the tech art for Amphibious Assault. And you might be thinking, Suede, I mean, this isn't great. Like, the beach is just a straight line. But surely this isn't worse than all these other pieces of art. And I'll say, yes, it is. Because they had a very serviceable piece of art for the transport unit, just like the unit model that appears in its Civilopedia entry, and they could have just copied and pasted that over, and it would have been much better than this. Instead, you have this absolute falling apart monstrosity where you cannot tell where the edges of the boat end and the water underneath the boat begins. This is just the worst. Yeah. So that's it. That's the list. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments what your opinions are. And as always, have an amazing day.